Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is episode 11 of our live streams. And this time we're going to be talking about spinning lies into gold, which sounds lovely. If you're the lie spinner and it's all coming to you, look, I can twist things around and I can persuade people of things that aren't true, and then I can fill my pockets with money. My pockets aren't even big enough. I need to stuff my pockets. But the other side of this is that we who do not want to have a fascist state can also spin those lies into gold by revealing them, as long as people can hear them. So we're going to be talking about a bunch of aspects of this today. And I'd love to hear from you, Joni, your perspective on spinning lies into gold to get us started here.
Yeah, well, I think it's important that we all are on the same playing field, because sometimes when we're speaking facts, we're speaking numbers, the other person can't even hear it because it's so outside of their realm of understanding. But that doesn't mean we don't do it. Facts are on our side. Facts, we need to keep just getting that out there.
I think helping people understand, like, I think to some people the word million and billion are so similar, but if they see all the zeros, they'll be like, what? That many? Like, you can't imagine that in your own checking account. Imagine all those billions, the $1 billion for the ballroom, which was, oh, by the way, supposed to be paid for by private investors. Ha ha ha. Now it's directly in a bill. I mean, this is in black and white saying we want $1 billion.
Right.
How
A
is that okay?
billion dollars, which is also what, like maybe 5 times or more the estimate that he who shall not be named said it would cost. So 5 times as much, that might make more of an impact to people or not, because unlike Christy and me, math isn't friends to many people, although we both like
Right.
it.
We are math nerds. Okay, there's some of that going on. We're geeks in a number of ways, but still, the average person can understand when they go to the gas pump and they find that they've gotten a horrible, huge bill. I saw something kind of funny the other day. Someone had gone to the gas pump and got 86.47 for their tank of gas, and I'm like, oh, you think the FBI is going to come looking for me? By the way, welcome to both Claudia and Rick. It's so nice to see you here. And Rick says, oh yeah, and he gets to pocket the private donations, right? We don't know where that money went. Well, we do know. Let's be truthful. We have a sense of where that ended up going. But that doesn't mean we can just go, okay, that's just how people are. We're just going to let him stuff his pockets and rip us off. Because after all, the money for the billion is our money, not for the private investors.
And that's important too. We can't get, let's see, what I was going to think of a fancy word, but we can't get um, kind of take for granted that this is just normal. We can't normalize this kind of greed and corruption, and beyond that, just kind of blank check spending that this administration is doing.
That
Because
is yes.
we human beings living in the US, regular people, can't just write a blank check and have everything paid for. And yet, maybe because this administration is filled with millionaires and billionaires and people who don't understand what the word grocery means, that they don't quite understand what it is to live within a budget and to plan things out.
Yeah, I think a budget is completely beyond their comprehension, not only for their own household, but also for the government. Like there there are guidelines and such because we're within a framework of, okay, if you spend, this is how you do it. And if you are going to spend, this is the constraints you have on how much you can spend. That's why Congress, have you heard of that thing before? Congress allocates money, not, hey, executive order, I fill my pockets.
Right.
That's not how
And
it's supposed to work, people.
And you can tell both of us get kind of hot under the collar about this, uh, although we don't really have collars, but um, because it is our money. And the lies about the money and the spin, not the positive spin that we're talking about, where we can turn it into gold information, not gold
Ooh, I
coin.
like that.
Gold, gold in,
Different currency. Yeah.
yes, yeah. Uh, it gets so frustrating. Is one of the quotes that I heard. It was one of the senior economic advisors, Kevin Hassett, talking about meeting with a credit card company. And the credit card company was saying, oh, people are putting a lot more on credit cards. And Kevin Hassett said, yeah, people are spending more on gasoline, but more on everything else too. And he viewed that as a good thing, that people are putting stuff on their credit cards, like they have a blank check to just buy whatever they wanted. Well, they're putting groceries on credit cards. They're putting so many things that they might have used to been able to budget within their weekly or monthly budget, and now they're going to have to pay it over time with an average credit card interest rate that is, probably between 16 and 20, 22, 25%. Who knows? They're crazy.
Well, that's a genius point because who benefits when we put more things on credit? The banks benefit. The people that used to be more regulated than they are now, where a lot of the billionaires are hanging out. I mean, there's such a reciprocal relationship between billionaires and banks. It's pretty obscene. And who are the people that are helping to fund that? It's people paying really high interest rates because they can't afford to pay out of pocket, directly out of pocket, the things that they need to live. I think there's going to probably be mortgage defaults and so on because life has just gotten excessively expensive. And Rick put billionaire businessmen, right? That's the aspiration. Our local MAGA rep was like, oh, my constituents aren't anti-billionaires. They kind of aspire to be rich themselves. Well, we all would like to have plenty of money, but that doesn't mean we want to squeeze the little guy till he's screaming so that we can be living in a mansion or owning an island. Like, this is just not humane. It's not loving, compassionate, caring, open hearted, all the things we aspire to be as good humans are not what's reflected in these greedy practices.
Yeah. And we're talking about lies, and we've ended up on the greed again because it gets us so
Oops, let's go back to lies because those are good too.
it makes us so angry. But the lies feed into greed, and greed feeds the lies, so that there is this reciprocal arrangement that in order to keep things going the way that they want to have it going, there has to be this deceit of the average person. So the Kevin Hassett implying that putting stuff on credit is a good thing is a deception. And it's not just deceiving numbers by saying the wrong number, or deceiving by not allowing the aerial photographs of what's going on in the Middle East. It's not the satellite, that's the word, satellite
Right.
photographs, because that was something that was done to stop that, so we wouldn't see what was actually going on there. I mean, it's so pervasive in so many different ways that we are not supposed to believe our eyes. We are supposed to believe what we're being told. And no way, I'm not going to believe what I'm being told. I want to understand it for myself and use my own sense of logic and fact checking, and be able to use those fact checks to tell other people what I have found out so that other people aren't just buying into the story that's being spun, that we can spin those lies into the gold of truth, into the gold of facts.
Into the gold of reality. That's the other thing. Like they are trying to remake the world into some fantasy thing, even by erasing history. Even, oh, Thomas Jefferson didn't have children with his slaves, kind of thing. Like this is real history. This happened. It exists. So to try to make it go away and say, oh no, no, slavery wasn't that bad. Really? Were you a slave? I think you might view it differently if you had been oppressed like that. The lying about, oh, the ceasefire means the war hasn't been going on. Like you're saying that and you're shooting on Iranian boats. Like this is all completely nonsensical. So the incessantness of it, we talked about this before, like it's relentless. If you repeat it enough, you start to believe it's true. And the thing I think that has to happen is for something to break through that's different. That someone goes, oh, wait a minute, I haven't heard that before. Or the people that aren't being reached at all, if one lie trickles through, they might be like, oh, I guess that's what's true. How do we, I think this is something that's beyond our scope, but how do we get people who are kind of la 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 la, I'm not hearing anything, I'm not seeing anything. How do we get them to be able to see what's going on? And not in a way that's like all politicians lie, but in a way that's like these politicians specifically are lying beyond comprehension. I mean, these are things where how could you stand up and say them with a straight face? Like I would be like betraying myself. I'd have some sort of a tell where I'd be like, oh my gosh, I know I'm totally lying right now. how do I not how do I not give it away? I mean, they would have to fire me because I would be laughing or making a face or something. But they say it like it's, gospel truth. And it's just startling how they manage to do that. But they do. And I think they convince themselves by repeating it enough. If you say it enough to yourself, you'd be like, oh yeah, we thought,
Mhm.
like, for example, lifting people off of SNAP benefits. That's one of the lies that really sticks in my craw. No, you haven't like increased them to a livable wage. You haven't made food more accessible to them. You haven't done anything that has lifted them. What you've done is you've made it harder to enroll. You've eliminated people, but based on certain criteria. And now, yes, there are fewer people getting fed, but not because they were lifted up. It's because they were thrown off.
Yeah.
And these kind of lies are just so whitewashed, like, oh, it was waste, fraud, and abuse. Oh, really? For these people who needed food to eat was wasteful? Uh,
Well, and it's important to note that we're not going to change everyone's mind. We're not going to be able to reach everyone, especially the ones who are wearing blinders, but we can impact some, and we can impact them with facts. And it's also really important to remember, and changing people's minds, this has been the source of my a lot of my work for over a decade now. People will change their mind and perspective when they feel heard, safe, and valued. So it's important not to rant and go, why are you believing this? Even though internally we are going, why are you believing this? It's important to understand that everyone is seeing the world through their own lens, through their own perspective and understanding. And if you had been dropped in their body, you might have the same perspective too. So there
and
is not anything inherently wrong or bad about the person who doesn't understand yet. And when you approaching them level headed, approaching them with respect, and approaching them with facts, factual data that can be checked by reputable sources.
yeah, the word that came to me was don't weaponize the facts. Like we're not using this to one up people. we're using this to welcome them. And hopefully we're using it from a place of love, because that's what we really feel for humanity. Like my heart goes out to anybody who is on SNAP benefits, who's been thrown off. What are they doing right now? How are they getting by? This concerns me. I don't know anyone in that personally in that circumstance, but I can certainly use my imagination to imagine how it is for them. And to say to someone else who doesn't happen to be benefiting from SNAP benefits to try to get them on board might be, tapping into our common humanity around, we really, when we're confronted right person to person with someone, we don't want to see them suffer. If we can put them in the abstract and be like, oh, just those people, just the Iranians, just those people on SNAP benefits, it's easier for us to sort of detach and sort of not feel the impact. But if we really try to, like, I like it when they show someone who's personally been affected by something because they're relatable. And you can be like, oh, there's another human like me there, but for the grace of God go I, that I could have been in a similar situation. Not that we're doing it just because we're going to take care of ourselves, but it's because when one suffers, all suffer. So why wouldn't we want to reduce the suffering of human beings whenever and wherever we can? Not meaning we go into poverty ourselves in order to do it, sacrifice, become a martyr, whatever, but in order to benefit all, so that there's less suffering in the world in general. And then, doesn't your life have more meaning when you've connected to more people and you've made some sort of difference in people's lives? Of course. Versus the billionaires, I can imagine life review for them at the pearly gates or whatever, like, oh, you could have fed all those starving people, but instead you did this. Hmm.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that I think gets lost in so many people's minds is that lifting others up lifts everyone up. That the more we have people who are have clean water, good education, are well fed, are not inundated by pollution, the the better ideas come forth, science advances, culture advances, and ideas come from anywhere, from anyone, from the most unexpected places. And if we are promoting this society where only white men who are billionaires and millionaires can have a say, then we are going to get stagnant super fast because there aren't going to be new ideas, there aren't going to be new perspectives, and there is not going to be the sense that all we are all connected in a common humanity, and helping one helps everyone.
Which brings me back to the big question, the big push, the big ask of how can we spin these lies into the currency of gold for those who wish to see something be different. And I love the fact that so many people, I mean, when you look at the different organizations that have sprouted up, I mean, some have been around for a while, but so many things sprouted up in the last year because in response to what's going on. It's easy to talk about loneliness and how people are isolated and how they're on their devices a lot and so on. But I will say it looks to me like this has been a catalyst for community coming together and saying, this is what's important to us. I heard there were a lot of protests, I believe, in Nashville about the recent redistricting. Lots of people coming out to say, this is not okay. Like, this is not what we're looking for. We want people to be represented and we want to be represented. So this engine of information that's factual, that's verifiable, that's nonpartisan per se, because it's facts. See, that's the thing that I find interesting. Facts are nonpartisan. They're not Democratic facts and Republican facts. They're facts. So the more we can be like, here are the facts, and those over there are fabricated. I mean, I wish there was a better way for people to really sort that out. I mean, I think people like you and I have sort of gone through the work of figuring out, well, yeah, that seems legitimate and that doesn't, and these are the reasons why, and sort of checked it over time. But certain other people might just be like, oh, my dad always watched Fox, so I watch Fox, and it must be a good source because I trust my dad. I trust my dad, and so I trust Fox. And it's some of those people, again, like you say, will never reach. But spinning this into, look, everyone, because even and especially the whole idea that the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which is such a nauseating name anyway, um, is going to do so much that kicks in after the midterms.
Right.
Highlighting that now is critically important because after the fact, either, I mean, they're probably going to blame Democrats, and I mean, I'm preaching to the choir, and many people have said this, but the more we can talk it up and be out there saying what's true, the more it may reverberate through, I don't know, the styrofoam walls or whatever of la la, I don't hear anything, nothing's happening here.
Well, and it's remember that you're not going to change everyone's perspective
Exactly.
or opinion, but as Christy said, with with the facts and speaking it calmly and logically uh, helps. And this is something an anti-bullying
Mm.
technique is that you may not change the bully, but you're empowering the people who are watching. So every time you stand up and you say something factual, you may not see, you might be planting a seed in someone else to do the same, to check and to see where you got your information and to go deeper, to delve deeper, to question their sources. We might not see the outcome, but every time we take a stand like that, I have to believe that it makes a difference.
And I think normalizing speaking out, we sort of talked about this before, not being hush hush. We don't talk about certain topics. We don't talk about politics, for example. What if we do talk about politics? What if we do make it so it's not about division? It's not about polarizing and I'm better than you are and your ideas are stupid. It's more like, what do we want? How can
Right.
we work together? How can we? And I don't like the reach across the aisle thing because it feels like there is this separation. But what if there's a collaboration? What if there's like, this is what we really want? This is what we envision. I mean, I hope and pray, it's not a prayer really, but I hope that this becomes a blueprint for the future, coming together, sharing ideas, collaborating, being creative, being inventive, being innovative, coming up with new ways of doing things so that we can come out the other side better than we were before. I hate what's going on in a lot of ways, but I love the idea of it perhaps birthing something far beyond what we ever imagined, and that we'll be far better off because so much of this stuff was sort of not talked about, hidden under the covers. I mean, I think that's why it grew like it did because a lot of it was sort of stealth. I saw I saw a newsletter. I haven't read it yet this morning, but the title of it was John Crow because John Roberts and Jim Crow, like he has wanted this redistricting to disenfranchise Black voters for decades, and now he's realizing his aspirations. But the rest of us are going, not okay. This has got to stop. This whole commandeering of everyone's money, all the power. I'm just the greedy robber barons. That's like we're recycling history here. We haven't been here before.
Well, and looking toward what it is we want to see. And I can't say this enough. We want a world where every person matters, every voice is heard, and everyone has fair opportunities. That world, everyone will thrive There's not going to be this hierarchy where some people are better than others. And the more we adopt that stance now, because a lot of the reason we're in the mess we're in right now is because of racism. So the more we can stop otherizing anyone, including those with whom we disagree right now, see them as human beings worthy of love and respect, and everything that we wish for those we love, see those with whom we disagree the same way. The more we do that, person to person, then we will come out, we will be able to create that world that Christy was talking about. It starts with us, and it starts now.
And Claudia made a great comment about hoping this, that the outcome of this mess will be something that's better and elevated. And I love, she said, I send my request to the universe. Yes, kindred spirit. Hey, universe, please bring us what we want, because we want a world that's more equitable, more loving, more compassionate, and so on. Simon Rosenberg of the Hopium Chronicles, he's a hope with a plan is what he uses, and he has hope as well. He's a longtime political strategist, and if we continue to focus on where we can make a difference and what we can do and not focus on, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming, this is awful, this is relentless. First of all, we know that they want us to be hammered on and exhausted and worn out from this. But instead, if we can use that to boost our resolve of like, you are not going to get me down. This is not over. I'm still standing. I'm getting up for another round. And the other beautiful thing is, like, if one person drops, another person can stand up, and then the next person, you can rest. And then, because there's so many of us versus them, where there's a limited number, and hopefully they are limited in terms of their scope and longevity in this process. Bye bye. Can't wait to see the back of you.
Well, and there,
And
even with all the redistricting, there are more of us. There are more of us.
right.
And even if you look at the scope of our discussion today, yeah, we were getting pretty hot under the collar because these are things that are infuriating, but they're also infuriating to us because we care about people. We care about democracy. We want to see this world that we were talking about. We want to come out on the other side and be able to be in this world where there is more innovation, where everyone matters. And so it's also important to allow the fact that we can get angry. But one of the things Christy and I always try to do is to bring it back to that sense of love and that sense of hope and that sense of humanity, because that's what matters. This isn't about winning or losing. This is about the future we want for the next generations, the future we want so that those who come after us can have the kind of democracy and better that we grew up with, that they can have opportunities that we didn't have. We don't want the future generations to have less. We want them to have more. And right now it feels like they're going to have less than we did. And we want them to have everything, the best that this world and humanity can offer.
Absolutely. I had a client just yesterday say, I'm not sure I want to have children because I'm not sure I don't know how I'd raise them in this current world. And that's not what we want. We want something much better. And it does bring back the idea of love. Like, to me, it's a form of self-love to be able to actually look at information, take in knowledge, inform yourself. That's a way of taking care of yourself instead of denying that anything is happening. Then love of others. It's the people that we care about around us. Love of the planet. We want this planet to have, you know, climate change resolved and improved. Love of our country. So it's back to the country, not as in we're the greatest, but as in we care. This matters. The people here are forming this imperfect union, but perhaps with love, it can become a more perfect union. So everywhere I turn, when I really use the lens of love, it's, oh, there's so many ways in which love is really an antidote for a lot of what's going on. Anger is, I mean, fierce love, can be anger that you're like, I don't want this. But love brings us back to what we really, really want. What would I love to see for others? What would I love to see for the planet? What would I love to see for this country? Would I love to see for this world? We're all interconnected. There is no way you can say someone in Iran is not connected to us, someone in Japan, someone in Afghanistan, any of the ants. Like we're all connected. So lifting us up in love, to me, is the shifting point.
And I think one of the reasons we started this is because we love this country and because we have love for the future. And with that, we thank you for joining us, and let's turn hope into action together.
Together. See you next time.
Bye.